I do not have any fun hooks for you today, so let's just get straight into it. So, hi guys, welcome to another episode of my Cold Outreach Challenge series. If you haven't watched the previous videos on the topic, then I'm challenging myself to hit the $7,000 a month mark by the end of this year, and I'm doing it by practically reaching out to strangers and pitching them my services as a freelance copywriter. If you're interested, I'm gonna leave the links to the 3 other videos in the description box below. Now let's discuss the results of the past 2 weeks. I'm gonna be completely transparent with you and say that the past 2 weeks have not been great in terms of me reaching out to people. I had quite a big bureaucratic challenge on my plate, and I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but it took like most of my time to deal with the logistics of handling my business that's in Finland while me living in Germany. Anyway, so I was supposed to freshen up my sales deck, and that's done. I was supposed to send out 15 follow-up messages, that's done too. And I was also supposed to send out 15 net new outreach messages, and that is not completely done. I only managed to send out 11 messages out of 15, and I will explain why in a moment. Let's start with the juiciest part. So, how did the sales goal go? The goal went surprisingly well. We talked about the prospects, or now the leads' content needs, their overall marketing plan, their positioning, what they're considering in terms of their future marketing strategy, and I also pitched them not necessarily my services, but I pitched them a few content ideas. Yeah, we talked about some potential content ideas. I also pitched my services, of course. So this is my personal belief, and I think that it doesn't hurt, or it is actually quite often worthwhile to be transparent about your pricing. And that's what I did. I showed different retainer packages, my retainer packages, during our initial discovery call. The thing is, you also qualify a lead based on their budget needs. And it might happen that the prospect wants to buy from you, but they just do not have a budget. And it's not even about objection handling, how some might say that. They are not persuaded on the value of the product. Sometimes the lead might simply not have the money to buy your services. That's just how it is. Long story short, I also pitched my services during the discovery call and offered different pricing options or different packages, so to say, and we agreed to talk again in a couple of weeks. They had a few events stacked one after another at the end of November. So we agreed that we're gonna talk after that. Once the event season is over, we're gonna discuss my offer again and decide on the next steps. Overall, I'd say that the call went very well. Of course, it's not a signed contract yet, and it might not turn into a signed contract at all, or not yet. The thing with outreach is that you still cannot force customers to operate on your timeline. You have to adjust to theirs. Now that I've been talking to more and more people, I get a lot of responses along the lines like, let's talk again in a month, 3 months, 6 months. And I believe that it's not just a way to avoid the conversation, but a genuine awareness of where their brand stands at the moment. So we'll have to be mindful of what the customer wants right in this particular moment to be able to actually close the deal. Now let's talk about the messages, and let's start with the net new outreach messages. First of all, as I mentioned in the very beginning, I failed to hit my goal, so I only sent out 11 messages instead of 15. I have a valid reason for that, but still, I could have done better. I have to say that doing this in-depth or more in-depth research that I'm trying to do right now is taking even longer than what I spent on sourcing my first 30 leads. I got 3 responses out of these 11 messages, and practically all of them were also about let's stay in touch for some future needs. Again, this is not a yes. This is not even transitioning to a lead stage, but it gives me a good understanding of where or what my actual ideal customer profile is. So surprisingly, this outreach challenge has turned into a great marketing experiment. When I started my solopreneur journey, when I started my business essentially, I had a hypothesis. My hypothesis was that startups and scale-ups in the IT industry might be interested in my services. Now that I've been doing outreach for a while, I noticed that my actual audience is in fact these early stage startups, so between 10 and 50 employees, and kind of like the closer it is to 10, the better it is for me to pitch my services, so to say. So far, it has been very hard to get into scale ups. They either have a full team, so like a whole content team that can basically cover all of their content needs, or they have these freelance contractors with whom they've been working since they were in their early stage days. So that was a very good claim to validate. Now I won't have any distractions and I can focus exclusively on this like one segment of IT industry that is in its early days and growing. And this will help me to, well, both adjust my outreach strategy and also tailor my organic content to the needs of that particular audience. In terms of follow-up messages, there the situation was more or less similar. So the people who replied also replied along the lines of, let's stay in touch, right now we don't have content needs, but we will consider you for the future. And I am gonna stay in touch with them, by the way. So I'm not gonna bombard them with buy from me messages, but I'm definitely gonna stay in touch, comment on their posts, their LinkedIn posts. Maybe I might send them a useful resource or two if I come across anything like that, and then maybe in a year I might ask them again if they would like to work with me. And it again resonates with this idea of working on the customer's timeline. I've heard this idea and I really liked it, that if you're building your business around what you need and what you want and how much money you want to make, then you will never succeed at business. Your business should be about serving your audience. And I could not agree more with this statement. The timing is one of those things you really cannot rush, I feel. If the prospect doesn't need your services right now, there's really nothing else you can do but wait. And I know that these things are kind of basic and I've heard of them myself many times before, but it's very interesting to actually experience this thing, not just believe in them because somebody else talked about them, but experience and know them. And also, as I was doing my regular outreach cadence, I of course got another job offer that seems to be a normal part of my cadence as well. That job offer was a little bit shady, so they wanted someone doing full-time work but working as a freelancer, so essentially no benefits, no paid leave, and you also pay VAT from that quote-unquote salary. So that was a no-go for me. And I also got one organic lead, but there it didn't really work out between us, let's just say it that way. At the same time, one of my project clients decided to start a full retainer with me, so you can congratulate me. And we're even going to do a little bit more work in the beginning because they fit perfectly my ICP. So they are within these 10 and 50 employees. They are very much in their early days. They literally have only one page on their website. So we're building the whole SEO engine from scratch. I'm gonna help them with the website. I'm gonna help them with blog, some additional landing pages. We'll see how that goes. Maybe some proprietary research, whatever that might entail. And yes, we're starting with some extra content hours in the beginning, and then we're gonna transition into my, I guess, average typical standard package, which includes on average 5 articles per month. I've seen that works quite well, that gives quite decent results. Plus we're trying to be a little bit flexible, so maybe we'll do a bit more backlinking if we need to, or a bit more optimization instead of content creation. So that's definitely good news for me. Unfortunately, even without retainer package, I have not reached my overall goal yet, but we're getting closer, so that's worth celebrating. And now the goals for the next 2 weeks. Since I believe, fingers crossed, I do not have to deal with the same bureaucratic nightmare again, I'm gonna keep the same goal of 15 net new messages. I think it is fair, and I think I should have enough time to focus on it. And for the second goal, I have actually calculated how many follow-ups I need to send. And the number is 20. So we're gonna have 15 net new messages and 20 follow-up messages. And I think that's it. I didn't include that lead with whom I had a sales call in the plan because, so I mentioned we agreed to talk again in early December, and we in fact agreed on the second week of December, so the timelines, they do not match. I will be able to include him in the next batch. And with that, I'm gonna finish this video. I think the plan is very solid and I should be able to stick to it. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section, whether you like this video or not, or what you think in general. And as always, I wish you a great day and I will see you next time. Bye bye.